Here's the thing. I've been struggling for several years to find a girlfriend and build a relationship. I dedicate myself to service, prayer, and leading a healthy lifestyle. Despite my efforts, it just doesn't work out.
It's not working out because you're highly sensitive and lack water energy. When she says something even slightly wrong, you overreact. Isn't that right?
Probably.
So how will you find someone? All women are naturally emotional. It's in their nature to express themselves in their unique way.
What should I do?
You should sit in water and do static exercises. In every lecture, I explain how to restore water energy.
I'm honestly thinking about buying a pool.
Buy it.
Thank you very much.
My dears, you have two choices. Either live the right way or ruin your life. If you choose the latter, don't come to me then. If you want to ruin your life, go to a bar. But if you want to live properly, sit in water and do static exercises. Otherwise, you won't be able to get married. It's the same as with the wife. Imagine a man has a wife. He has the same situation as you have. That means he can't do anything with his life. He thinks his wife is to blame for everything. In reality, this is a wrong way of living. Each person loses energy through specific channels. There are 3 conditions that trigger rapid energy loss. The first is a state of despair, which he is experiencing. I think this despair began about 4 years ago, likely when your wife left you. You entered a state of despair. At that time, your water energy began to drain heavily. You have been living in despair so long that you've gotten used to it already. It feels normal to you, but it's not normal, it's despair. To overcome despair, you need prayer. Only prayer and connection with God can remove it. You need to remove despair. Despair cannot be removed quickly. You need water and static exercises. Trees also help a lot, especially standing near trees. In your case, a maple tree suits you. The second energy issue is hopelessness. Hopelessness arises from a lack of air energy. When air energy decreases sharply, a person's willpower and relationships suffer. When there is lack of air energy, coldness develops in relationships. As usual, people experience increased sensitivity and vulnerability, but when hopelessness sets in, coldness appears in relationships. It can develop. This can happen if a person faces problems with business, personal life, or general circumstances. As hopelessness sets in, air energy starts to decrease significantly in the psyche. Disappointment in life and people follows. That means sun energy starts to decrease. When sun energy is lacking, a person becomes pessimistic. They are constantly feeling negative. This interferes with personal life and work, leading to immediate loss of success. A person loses the ability to succeed. Not being able to get married also is a sign of this lack of success in life. There are 2 ways out. One way out is the right way of life. The other, just pass away. That's the second option.
Thank you very much for giving the floor. I have a question. I often find myself in conflicts with everyone over trivial things, with my husband, my mom, and my dad.
Did you hear the gentleman earlier? You have the same issue, a lack of water energy.
A lack of water energy. So I should visit a swimming pool, I understand. There's also another thing. I have epilepsy, and many people think.
This, my dear, is an entirely different matter. Epilepsy stems from the 5th energy layer, the deepest part of the psyche. It involves a lack of both air and sun energy. When these 2 blockages overlap like this, epilepsy develops. All mental illnesses are tied to the 5th energy layer. It happens when there's a combined deficiency in both water and air energies, for example. Most people don't have blockages together. Their blockages are separate and stand slightly apart from each other. But when the blockages align, they can result in chronic illness. For example, if a water blockage overlaps with air, it leads to schizophrenia. If water overlaps with the sun, it leads to psychopathy. If air overlaps with the sun, it leads to epilepsy. The solution is gradual. First, sit in water for 5 layers. Then perform static exercises for 5 layers. Follow this with walking for 5 layers. Finally, practice fasting for 5 layers. Fasting for 5 layers is the hardest. You need to fast for 60 hours once a month. Only after about 1.5 years will you be able to weaken or completely remove these blockages. When that happens, your illness will pass.
So if I do all this, I could be free from epilepsy in 2 years?
Definitely, I know many examples when this has worked. Have you started doing these asceticism practices?
I've been fasting. It helps me. I know this for sure.
You shouldn't approach it this way. Fasting alone can create an imbalance. Sun-related asceticism practice is the most dangerous of all practices. When you begin fasting, your seizures worsen. You must first sit in water and do static exercises. Water cools a person down. When water energy is activated, it prevents overheating of the psyche. For instance, if you start running without sitting in water or doing static exercises, strong overheating begins. This can severely harm your health. Inflammatory processes in joints and spine may begin. When you start fasting, air and water energy become unbalanced because fasting strongly activates sun energy. If other energies are not in balance, fasting can lead to issues. For example, if air energy is very tense, fasting might cause spasms or a sensation of twisting inside. If water energy is unbalanced, fasting can lead to extreme weakness, intense hunger, or heat in the body. These are also signs of imbalance, and fasting can cause these issues, especially in your case. That's why it's important to proceed in sequence. Start with water. Don't rush. First sit in water. Practice static exercises. You can't just sit in water. It must be combined with static exercises, otherwise seizures will worsen. It's beneficial to stand near trees as trees calm the psyche. For your illness, a linden tree is most suitable. Sit in water twice a week. Stand near a linden tree 4 times a week. Standing facilitates cleansing directed toward the head. Sitting in the butterfly or diamond pose won't help you in this case. You need to stand so everything goes to your head. After 2 to 3 weeks of water therapy and standing next to a tree, begin incorporating prolonged, continuous movement into your routine. Gradually increase the intensity. Aim for a 4-hour walk covering 21 kilometers once a week to work on all 5 energy layers. That's already dynamic. You start moving. Around 3-hour and 20-minute mark, it will be hard for you to walk due to a blockage. Your pulse will rise. You need to overcome this. If you feel it's too difficult, approach it gradually. Only after this foundation should you start fasting, and even then, begin slowly. Start little by little with intermittent fasting. Fasting on greens is another option. It also cleanses the subtle energy body without overloading it. For example, fasting on spinach leaves is something you can start doing right away. It has a calming effect on the nervous system, making the process easier for you. Start with intermittent fasting. For example, have lunch as usual and drink juice made from spinach leaves in the evening. Just blend spinach and drink it. The next morning, eat again. Progress to 24-hour fasting once a week, then to 36-hour fasting on greens once every 2 weeks, then 48 hours once every 3 weeks, and eventually 60 hours once a month. Do it gradually, take your time, don't rush. Ascetic practices require gradual progression. Rushing is counterproductive. It can even be harmful. Start with caution. At 50, I realized I needed prolonged, continuous movement. I began by running just 500 meters, then gradually increased to 600 meters. It took me 2.5 years to reach 17 kilometers. Tomorrow we will run. Do you know about it, by the way? Tomorrow some of us will run, some will walk, and we'll all go into the water afterward. Where? We'll run there, right? We run around the monument. There's a big monument and a Ferris wheel there. We run back and forth around that area. It's about 1 kilometer through the park, which is very scenic. We run like this, back and forth with the monument standing in the center of it all. Huh? We meet at 7 in the morning. Veronica can confirm the details.
Could you also clarify the starting point?
Which metro station?
Sokolinaya Gora.
Sokolinaya Gora metro station. From there, walk towards Izmailovsky Park and find the Ferris wheel there. That's where we'll meet.
I have another question. How can we understand where certain issues originate from? What causes certain conditions?
Conditions like mental illnesses, cerebral palsy, and autism in children stem from the moment of death in a previous life. If a person doesn't pass away well, an energetic blockage forms in their 5th energy layer at the moment of separation from the body. This blockage then forms severe diseases, mental illnesses, or childhood conditions in the next life. This is linked to the moment of departure from the previous life. It's tragic because when a person passes away, they become aware of themselves in the subtle energy body after about 3-4 hours. They may experience very strong emotions at this stage. When my mother-in-law passed away, she cried for 3 days because it was an unexpected departure. There was a medical error. She had been generally healthy with only minor heart issues. They performed a heart probe and attempted to expand a blood vessel. It ruptured, and she died instantly from hemorrhage. The diagnosis stated heart rupture. When she found herself in the subtle energy body, after about 3 hours, she began to understand her situation and became aware of what had happened. She cried continuously for 3 days. This signifies that at her rebirth there will be a lack of water energy. However, we prayed for her and she ascended to heaven. She felt better when she saw the heavenly planet she had received as a reward for her life. That's how it can happen. Yesterday I was in St. Petersburg and spoke with a woman. Oh no, it was this morning. A young woman rushed over to me before I could leave. I had just left the house and she caught me. At the moment of her death in her previous life, she had very difficult personal relationships. I think she might have even died because of this. Now she's terrified at the possibility of getting married. When she thinks about marriage, she becomes extremely stressed and her mental state becomes very tense. This shows that a person perceives the past as the future. For example, syndromes like claustrophobia or phobias such as fear of heights have roots in past events. If someone fell from a great height at the moment of death, now they're afraid of heights. Similarly, if a person was hit by a car but survived, they might feel sick or uneasy whenever they see a road. It's approximately the same feeling, only carried over from one life to the next, and you don't know what it could be connected with at all. It can be a result of violent death. It can also be linked to a feeling of strong resistance. You resisted strongly and didn't want to die. Now these feelings manifest as fears or phobias. You need to overcome them through asceticism practices. Sometimes life feels like an endless cycle of problems. A lady in glasses, over to you, please. Yes.
Dr. Torsunov, hello. I'm so happy to see you.
Likewise, thank you. Please sit down.
I have a question. My husband died over a year ago.
The word died is already wrong because if he died, then everything is bad. Let's say parted. You lived with him for a long time and he was a good person. I see the whole situation. You lived together for a long time and he was a good person, kind and decent. The word died is inappropriate because the connection you shared still exists and you suffer because it remains.
I agree.
You just need to understand that he's still alive.
Yes, I think I understand.
When I explained everything to my wife about her mother, she eventually said, I get it now. Mom just moved to live in another place. And that's exactly it. She calmed down immediately.
We have a daughter. She's 24, and although I'm an adult, I still panic about her when I don't know what's happening with her and how she is doing.
About your daughter?
Yes, about my daughter. Normally everything is fine, but when something happens...
Well, you're a mother after all.
Yes, I'm a mother.
What's the question?
The question is that, first of all, it's very hard for me. I realize this when I feel it.
We'll have a retreat the day after tomorrow. We need to overcome fate. Fate is overcome through prayer. Only remembrance of God eases a person's state. Do you know what deep sleep is? We connect to God. Deep sleep is a connection to God. This is described in the scriptures. When deep sleep comes, it's like parking an electric car overnight. It charges from electricity. When someone has had deep sleep, they feel refreshed. Their strength has been restored. Prayer works in a similar way to sleep, only it happens even deeper. It brings a deep, profound restoration. People often lack experience with how it works, but prayer has the power to revive a person's psyche.
I do try to pray. I had a difficult fate in life. 20 years ago, our entire family was in an accident. My daughter was 2 years old. My son was 10. My son died, and we all were injured. My daughter also suffered trauma.
What is your question?
My question is, although I understand and I pray, when something happens, I am unable to pray.
You have a severe lack of sun energy.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask. How can I help myself?
Your deficiency is colossal, around 18%. People with such a deficiency usually resort to drugs for relief. The only real solution is fasting.
I understand.
Do you find yourself eating in the evening or at night?
I try not to eat at all.
Really? That's good. It means you have a compensated deficiency.
May I ask another question? I listen to your lectures.
You should begin fasting on greens and gradually transition to water fasting.
I wanted to ask about milk.
Fasting on milk?
No, not fasting on milk. Just about drinking it in the evening.
Hot milk?
Yes, what about hot milk in the evening?
It will help you, yes, with honey and turmeric.
Thank you very much.
Don't drink too much, though, because it will worsen your condition. You lack sun energy, and dairy products are not digested well in the evening. Be careful. Try it gradually. Add shilajit there as well. It also has a strong calming effect on a chemical level. Over to a gentleman over there. Please sit down and calm down.
Hello, Dr. Torsunov. I've been listening to your lectures for a very long time. I even attended your lecture in 2002. I've listened to many of them. My question is,
where were you in 2002? I wasn't giving lectures in Moscow back then.
In Rostov-on-Don. I even visited you. You used to see people after lectures. I wish you would restore this practice.
When did I see people one by one?
Yes, exactly. Let me explain why. There are many false prophets and false psychologists, and I trust only you.
Well, that's not right either.
Actually, there are others, but at least you can be trusted.
Now that's better.
My question is the following. I have a serious question. Is it possible to perform asceticism practice, like standing on nails or doing something else, to change one's fate?
No, it's a bit different. There is a subtle energy body. The subtle energy body needs to be filled. When you fill it, life improves. Asceticism practice is meant for this. There are practices that fill the subtle energy body, similar to eating. In other words, if we speak in analogies, a person has three energies. The soul has three energies: the energy of eternity, knowledge, and happiness. Please remember these three energies: eternity, knowledge, and happiness. On the subtle energy level, these three energies remain, although they are called differently. In Sanskrit, there is energy called ojas energy. It replaces the energy of happiness in the subtle energy body. The subtle energy body is a fine material body. It's not a spiritual body. The energy of eternity is replaced by prana energy. The energy of knowledge is replaced by tejas energy. In English, you can call them like this. Water energy is the energy of knowledge, happiness energy is the energy of the sun, and air energy, or prana, is the energy of air. If we look at the physical body, it's exactly the same. We breathe air, this is the energy of eternity. We drink water, this is the energy of knowledge, and we eat food, this is the energy of happiness. Sometimes a person gets confused. If they lack happiness energy, they start overeating at night because they need a little happiness to fall asleep. When there's no happiness, a person eats before sleep. This signals a lack of happiness energy, not in the physical body, but rather in the subtle energy body. You can only activate this energy through fasting or sunlight. In non-sunny countries, fasting is the only option, although sauna also helps to some degree, partially. Air energy can only be pumped through prolonged continuous movement, while water energy is activated through staying in water and static exercises. On a physical level, I just drink water, and that's it. Water energy goes into the physical body. When I breathe, air energy flows in. When I eat, sun energy or happiness energy flows in. These energies work on all levels, physical, subtle, and spiritual. They are everywhere. They just work differently. They need to be consumed. We consume energies constantly. Air energy by breathing, water energy by drinking, and sun energy by eating. On a subtle level, we need to consume all of this in the same way, but we don't know about it at all. Nobody realizes that there's a subtle level that requires nourishment. You need prolonged continuous movement, like walking outside. Ancient doctors always said when a person got sick, they would recommend sitting in water, walking outside, or being in the sun. But nowadays, such recommendations don't exist at all. Nobody gives them. Doctors now claim that sun is harmful, water is harmful, air and wind are harmful. This knowledge is no longer available, and people suffer because we stopped living outdoors. In the past, everyone mostly worked in fresh air and spent a lot of time outdoors. Now everyone is indoors, and there's no contact with these energies, leading to mental starvation of most people. This creates huge problems in life. For instance, if someone lacks water energy by more than 20%, they start drinking alcohol. When water energy is lacking, it disrupts the ability to fall asleep and rest. If air energy is lacking, a person smokes, drinks coffee, or gets addicted to gaming. They watch movies and play games to substitute air energy. This means they need to move physically to get filled up, but instead they turn to mental stimulation like watching movies where people run and shoot. They're trying to substitute it virtually. But this, of course, gives no real benefit. It's just self-deception. The subtle energy body receives sun energy through fasting or being in the sun.
So I understand that it's impossible to change anything through radical methods, right?
What radical methods?
Like asceticism practices, such as standing on nails or similar.
This is called stimulation, not filling up. You need to understand the difference between filling up and stimulation. For example, when you eat spicy food, it's stimulating digestion. There's a difference between eating fried potatoes and eating red pepper. Is there a difference? With potatoes, you get filled, but with red pepper, you stimulate your digestive fire. When you stand on nails, they stimulate activity in your body and psyche. Same applies to running with acceleration, or contrast shower, or running uphill. These are all forms of stimulation, not filling up. If you're already filled up and want to increase your ability to resist stress, then you can start standing on nails. You can do this when you have lots of energy. But if you don't have energy and you stand on nails, then you'll have even less energy because you sharply increase energy expenditure. It's the same as running uphill when you don't have energy. You'll completely exhaust yourself. You need to run on a flat surface to restore energy, not uphill. Is that clear, I hope? The gym isn't ideal either because there's no fresh air there. You need to run in open space to get filled up with energy. Did we resolve your question?
Yes.
Do you enjoy standing on nails?
No, but I was told once that I needed to stand on nails for 12 hours.
One has to be an idiot to give such advice. It can kill someone. You can literally kill a person. If someone believes in this and stands on nails for 12 hours, they will become so exhausted that they won't be able to get out of bed afterward. This is complete idiocy. Such advice is just terrible. It's complete idiocy. I'm amazed.
Dr. Torsunov, my respects. I'm so happy to see you. I am very happy to be here.
Go ahead, ask your question, and please sit down.
I have a question about chronic autoimmune diseases. Why do they occur?
These are related to the fifth energy layer. On a chemical level, these are genetic problems. On a subtle level, they result from disruptions of energy in the fifth energy layer. It's responsible for the nervous system and hormonal functions. Damage to the fifth energy layer gives such results. For example, a person enters into conflict with their subtle energy body and a blockage occurs. Then an autoimmune disease develops. But all of this can be overcome through asceticism practices.
I understand. When this happened to me for the first time, my focus of attention shifted very strongly towards the spiritual. I began practicing spiritual disciplines.
That's also good. Spirituality removes despair. You lack water and air energy. This affects the fifth energy layer. When such energetic blockages occur at the beginning of the fifth layer, they impact the nervous system and body regulation. These two blockages are at the start of the fifth layer. If they were in the middle, it would be schizophrenia. However, because they are at the beginning, they cause nervous system dysfunction and disruption of body regulation. To address this, you need to sit in water for 5 layers, do static exercises for 5 layers, and engage in prolonged, continuous movement for 5 layers over a year. During this year, these energetic blockages will be cleared and cleansed. Prayer removes despair and hopelessness, 2 emotions that cause severe energy depletion.
I understand. I'll continue. When this happened to me for the first time, I realized I had worked well on overcoming my arrogance and self-centeredness. I understood why I went through this lesson. I embraced spirituality, experienced a relapse, and now I'm entering a stable remission.
You've got it all mixed up. It sounds like a psychologist has influenced your thinking.
I haven't spoken to anyone at all.
Well, someone has led you to believe that your illness is due to hypocrisy and self-centeredness, but it's unrelated.
I've developed more humility.
That's great. It means you'll be beautiful and everyone will love you. But humility won't improve your health because in this case, health suffers from increased sensitivity, despair, hopelessness, or a lack of vital energy and overall weakness. In Russian, we'd call this a depletion of energy. These blockages must be cleared through asceticism practices. This will help you heal your illness. Illnesses are treated through asceticism practices. Character is treated through good deeds, and negative attitude is treated through prayer. I hope it is clear. Please remember, health is improved with asceticism practices, character is improved through good deeds, and prayer treats a person's attitude. For example, despair is an attitude, and it can be healed through prayer.
So I'm moving in the right direction. Thank you very much.
Exactly. You're completely right. Everything is fine. You just need to know what to do.
Yes, that's why I'm here. Can I ask another question?
For example, if someone starts eating through their nose, the effect will be weak. You need to eat through your mouth as there are specific rules to achieve certain results.
Thank you very much, and here's my second question. What should I do to find feminine happiness?
Do you mean getting married?
Yes.
You need to twist a man's head. Literally twist some guy's head. And that's it. instant feminine happiness. You need to be stronger than a man. And for this, you must practice asceticism. Strength consists of, first, physical strength, which means a person becomes cheerful and strong. Then comes mental strength. For a woman, this means loving people. Female beauty is rooted in love for others. For example, male beauty is cheerfulness. When someone enjoys life, that's male beauty. Female beauty is when a woman looks at people and loves them, appreciating people deeply. She looks and thinks, everyone is so nice. That's female beauty. And immediately people give back to her 100-fold. They feel her beauty. Sometimes women who are not outwardly striking are loved simply because they radiate love for others. When a woman loves people, she immediately gets at least 2 people, one to nag at, and another one she gives birth to.
Thank you.
Be good while your wife is still asleep. Be kind before the wife wakes up. See, men liked that joke, right? Women didn't laugh as much. Your question, Mom? Yes, you.
Dr. Torsunov, I thank you very, very much. I'm very happy to see you. You saved my relationship 3 years ago.
And now again, right?
And now again. Yes, it's very difficult. We weren't married for 5 years. Everything is very hard for us. I think you can see everything. I pray, I work on myself, and practice exercises. But now I am wondering what I should do next, because I'm trying to overcome my fate.
She is very strong. You are a very strong person. The man wants to leave. He wants to run away, but she doesn't let him. Like that, she is holding him by the throat.
I keep bringing him back with prayer all the time. I'm overcoming my fate, but now I feel like he's gone for good. He is very offended.
Gone for good?
Yes.
Goodbye. Trains are departing from all stations.
Dr. Torsunov, what should I do?
Well, find someone else to twist their head.
So I shouldn't wait for him?
When did he leave?
He moved out 3 weeks ago.
Are you married?
No.
He doesn't want to get married?
Something was holding us back. Every time we were about to...
What do you mean, holding you back? Did you also not want to get married?
No, I wanted to, but somehow fate held us back.
So it was holding him back?
Yes, it was holding him back.
So it let him into bed but wouldn't let him marry? Interesting.
Dr. Torsunov, I made many mistakes here. I just don't know now how to pass my test. On one hand, I think that...
You spoiled the man.
And what should I do about it now? I feel that he's my person because I grow with him. I got seriously into spirituality thanks to this person.
But why did he leave? What's the reason?
The reason is that I'm not changing. I'm not following some points of our agreement.
Do you torment him, throw tantrums or something?
No, he's not satisfied with some household things. I try to change things, but he doesn't like it. I don't exercise, and he wants me to exercise seriously.
You're jumping through hoops for him, and he wants you to jump even more, right?
Yes, he wants more.
This is exactly what you allowed to happen. This is called impudence. When a man doesn't marry, uses a woman and expects even more from her. You simply spoiled him. That's how it works. A woman shouldn't allow someone in her bed before marriage. Otherwise, the person becomes impudent. When the forbidden is allowed, impudence is born. And now, whether you jump in front of him or not, he has become imprudent. This man has become impudent. That's it.
So should I just let him go?
Why did he leave? You haven't answered my question.
He left because of a reason. We had a very strong conflict for the first time in 5 years.
Why did you have this conflict?
Because he shut himself off for 3 months. He practically didn't talk to me. We lived in the same space, and he asked me not to bother him.
That's a lack of energy.
Actually, I shared my personal feelings, my heart with one of his acquaintances. We just talked, and he found out about this.
You shouldn't do that. It was foolish.
He found out about this, got very angry with me, and left.
You shouldn't have done that.
I know.
Both of you lack water energy. You also have a strong lack of water energy. Hence, sensitivity, vulnerability.
Well, we really couldn't stand each other.
So you need to sit in water, do static exercises. Just imagine a hall gathered 300 people. Picture this scene. When a person raises their hand, I already know I should tell them, you need to eat. They say, Dr. Torsunov, why? Well, so that your hands don't shake, so there's no weakness. Well, okay, but I don't know if I can. I don't know. Then the next one, Dr. Torsunov, my hands are weak, my stomach is sunken, but my back is arched. I tell them, you need to eat. They ask, really? Well, fine, but maybe I should stand on needles. I reiterate, no, you just need to eat. And it goes on like this for a whole hour. My dears, please read the methodical guide and start consuming nature's energy, because we don't know what needs to be done. Problems arise one after another, and people's lives are falling apart. There's a severe lack of water energy. What time do you go to bed?
I'm not sleeping at all right now because of stress. That's a really bad thing.
That's it. We're done. You see what's happening. People are not living properly. And families are breaking up because of it. Relationships would be fine if she had made him marry her.
Dr. Torsunov, I was in a love-faith relationship. I was doing everything wrong. Now I'm trying to shift my focus to God and make Him my priority. I am praying.
That's great.
But I just wanted to know if that makes any sense to me right now.
You need to sit in water and do some static exercises. That's it. The discussion is over.
Should I try to get this person back or not?
There's no energy, there's no life, there's nothing you can do.
I understand that.
Dr. Torsunov, should I hold down a job or not? Can you get out of bed? No, you need to eat first, all right? What about work? You need to eat first, okay? But when am I supposed to work? There's no strength, there's no life. You don't have enough energy. You need to fill yourself with the energy of water.
Do I have any chance of improving all of this in any way? I understand that I need to regain my energy, but I want to know if there's any point in fighting further, because I'm used to fighting with my fate.
Do you realize what you're doing? I'm telling you to fill yourself up first, and then everything will restore itself.
Okay, I understand.
There's a sensitivity between you. You remember each other, and it shakes you up. You need to fill yourself up, and then you'll stop shaking. After that, it will get easier. Remember this, no one can ever make anybody do anything in this world. God gave people the freedom to understand what to do. I can't predict what's going to rush into your boyfriend's mind. Understand? Well, if you fill yourself up, there's a 50% better chance of that happening. But because you have this love faith, you're greatly depleting yourself. Your depletion comes faster than your replenishment. You need to pray and sit in water, do static exercises, do prolonged, continuous movements, and right now stop thinking about your personal life.
That's the hardest part.
Well, then fill yourself up. Just sit in water all day long. When I was stressed, I sat in water for 5 energy layers every day, and I did static exercises just recovering.
I understand. 2 years ago, you told me that, leave me alone. It's not your destiny to separate. That's why I was so stubborn.
I told you it was either marriage or separation. That's exactly what I said. You twisted everything around.
I understand.
What did you understand?
Well, I understand that I'm going to fill myself up. And then it's God willing.
Oh, well done. You know how many nice guys there are out there? Well, I'm not saying he's not coming back. It's all going to happen again. The 3rd episode of this Brazilian soap opera is definitely coming.
We're already on the 10th episode.
It's all going to start again. Nothing is going to end. Just a little longer break. Everything will be the same because there's no energy, there's no life.
I understand that energy is the key to success. I'm working on that.
Oh, well done.
Dr. Torsunov, can I ask one last question?
No, you can't. Give the microphone back.
Thank you very much, Dr. Torsunov.
Thank you for taking the time to come to Moscow. Thank you for your kindness, love, and for sharing knowledge with people. I am grateful for the knowledge you shared in Bishkek. Here's my question. 2.5 years ago, a large sum of money was stolen from me. I voluntarily handed it to a person I considered a friend.
If you lend money to someone, there's about an 80% chance that you will ruin your relationship with that person and won't get your money back. Especially if the amount exceeds a certain threshold, for example, 50,000 rubles. The larger the amount, the less likely it is that the money will be returned and that the relationship will be preserved. I'm telling you clearly, if you lend money to relatives, chances are you'll ruin your relationship with them and won't get the money back. This is likely how it will play out.
The money wasn't mine, and for 2.5 years I've been paying interest on it. The person who took the money turned out to be a fraud. I'm not the only victim. I'm trying to decide what I should do.
If it's possible to sue them, then sue them. Go all out, punish them to the maximum extent that you can.
I went to seek advice from his elders, from his parents, just to discuss how to resolve this situation. I see that they have the means to pay back. They have assets, but they refuse to do so.
What's your question to me? No one will simply hand you back your money.
Can I sue him and file a criminal case?
Of course you should.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Torsunov. I'm very glad to see you. Here's my question. Over the past 6 months, I've felt a kind of emptiness inside, a sense of shame.
You're lacking air energy. A difficult period has started. It's been going on for 4 months now. You need to do all the practices, do prolonged continuous movement. Your willpower has been affected. It's hard for you to get out of bed or make yourself do anything.
But lately, I've been falling asleep and waking up to your lectures. I've started running a lot, forcing myself to open my eyes. I'd like to ask, am I on the right track?
You need to do everything, not just running. You need to sit in water, do static exercises, and go for runs at the very least. Fasting isn't necessary for now. Yes, you're on the right track. Keep doing all of that. It's correct. The difficult period will end in 3 months.
Thank you. One more question about matters of the heart. It seems to me that I choose the wrong people, or maybe there's something wrong. In general, I feel like I lose myself in relationships. I've been watching lectures about love and faith.
You're definitely losing yourself in relationships. You need to understand that when a person has faith in God and feels connected to God, they never lose themselves anywhere. Losing yourself means you're trying to entrust yourself to someone other than God. You need to entrust yourself to God while building kind, honest, and faithful relationships with people. But surrender and loyalty are two different things. Surrender should be to God, while loyalty should be to a person.
All right. One last question. I ended a relationship with someone in what seems to me an improper way. The relationship itself wasn't started or built properly. The person is divorced. I met his children and became sincerely attached to them. But now I'm trying not to think about him.
Did he propose marriage to you?
No. I feel like I wasn't in the right place. Things weren't entirely resolved with his wife. So now I just try to pray and wish happiness for him and his children.
You've said everything. You ended it the best you could. What else can be done?
Hello, I am endlessly grateful to you. God has given us the opportunity to communicate with you. I wanted to ask about my husband. Over a year ago, I came to see you, but I didn't ask about him. He told me, "Ask about me. What's on my soul?" So much has happened this year.
Was your husband sitting next to you yesterday during the lecture, or was it some man? You don't know him?
No.
What's your husband's name?
Alex.
He's going through a difficult period right now. He seems to have some personal struggles with understanding himself and his purpose in life. Something along those lines, I think.
Yes. When I pray, thoughts, images, and problems come up. How else can I help him?
A person lives their life doing something day to day. Then a time comes when they need to evaluate their life and see where they've ended up. His evaluation has shown him that he's not doing what he's supposed to in life. This isn't about changing his job, it's more about his worldview and his relationship with God. Right now he's going through this inner turmoil because he lacks a connection with God and isn't focusing on the most important things in life. He's caught in this struggle right now. Because he is an intellectual person, he needs to deeply understand what he must do to begin a path that will lead him to happiness. He's experiencing this turmoil because he needs to grasp something that is generally very difficult to comprehend. Often intellectuals face this issue. They don't realize that it's better to move forward with small steps rather than making large, sweeping conclusions, which can be very challenging at times. It would be better if he simply started some practices that would guide him somewhere, rather than trying to deeply analyze something from scratch. This could apply to business, developing a comprehensive plan all at once. He's that kind of intellectual person.
But we don't have a business.
It doesn't matter. I don't know what you do have, but he is an intellectual person. Right now he's struggling.
What kind of practices, for example?
Prayer. The practices I recommend.
Definitely. Can I ask a little about myself? I pray for half an hour, sometimes an hour, rarely an hour and a half, and even more rarely, 2 hours. But I don't have enough energy for running. I'm afraid to skip a day of prayer because if I don't pray, the day feels very incomplete.
You have a disconnect between physical practices and prayer. Do you sit in water? Do you do static exercises?
No, I don't have the opportunity to sit in water. I don't have a bathtub, only a river, and that's only during summer, and not always then.
Do you live in a private house?
You could say that.
You should place a barrel outside, fill it with water, and sit in it. Use a watering barrel.
We do have a barrel, but only for summer.
Start with summer, then in winter, you can begin as if it's an ice hole.
Do you think I could manage that?
Everyone can. Every person can do it. Gradually, the temperature will decrease. You'll sit in colder and colder water. The water will get colder each time. You'll eventually incorporate static exercises during prayer. Then as a result, you'll add long walks, but right now you lack water energy. If you walk, overheating will occur.
I can't walk at all. I jog, but very slowly.
You have a severe lack of air energy and a lack of water energy. You need to change your lifestyle. I recommend water practices for everyone. If you have a balcony, you can set it up there. You can use a small bathtub or a barrel. There are sit-down tubs. Fill one and don't drain the water. Just get in, sit, and stay there without doing anything. It's just water that relieves tension. Many people do this. It's very convenient and solves many life issues. I also have a barrel outside. I get in it and sit.
Thank you.
I have a bathtub, but I don't feel like sitting in it. I got an outdoor barrel. I sit in it, and it feels better.
Hello, Dr. Torsunov. Is it okay to sit?
It's necessary.
Thank you for allowing me to ask a question. My husband and I have been married for 9 years. 2 years after I got married, I had a serious surgery. I had a major ovarian resection, 1 tube removed, and was diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis. After that, they said I wouldn't be able to have children naturally. I've been to countless doctors.
Stage 4 what?
Stage 4 endometriosis.
You're living incorrectly, and now you're sharing the results with me. You have dynamic tension on the second layer, plus toxins are causing benign oncology in that area, leading to damage. Until you remove it, it will persist. This is on the second layer. Emotions. Intense and negative emotions together lead to this outcome.
Yes, that's true, but what bothers me most is the issue of children, because I deeply love children. I've been to countless doctors, and they all say it's impossible except with a donor egg.
You don't have your own eggs?
I have about less than half of one ovary left, and the second is almost invisible on ultrasound. They said I need to take hormones for life. I wanted children so much, and I was devastated. I was depressed for a long time. My hair was falling out. I was losing my mind.
I can't grow you an egg.
Maybe it's just my fate. It's hard to accept.
A donor egg is also a valid option.
I'm considering adopting children instead.
You need to focus on restoring your health first. You're not in a position to adopt children right now. You currently have health issues. If you add a child into the mix, your health will deteriorate further. If you're struggling to live properly without a child, adding one won't help.
What should I do? How can I recover?
I tell everyone, sit in water, do static exercises, engage in prolonged movement. It's always the same advice. What's unclear? Read the guidebook. It's all written there. How to recover and replenish energy for life. Without energy, there's no life. I repeat this in every lecture, and you're proving it right now.
Do you think I can? Maybe over time I'll gain that energy. Will I be able to conceive naturally? Could a miracle happen, or should I adopt?
Did you come here looking for a miracle?
I came here so you could help me understand this issue better.
Remember, we talked yesterday about passion being a belief in miracles. What should you believe in instead?
In God.
It means living the right way and following your path. If you live the right way, you will have a child for sure. How will a child come to you? I don't know. Maybe you'll adopt, maybe through a donor egg, or maybe even your own egg. That's still a possibility. But right now, you're focusing on the wrong thing. You're trying to beg God for a result you should work toward. You need to change your lifestyle, understand? Right now, you don't have the energy for a child. If a child comes into your life, your health will get even worse. You don't have the energy for this.
Does this mean I need to work on both emotional and physical aspects?
You need to read the guidebook, sit in water, and do static exercises. Many people come to my lectures without knowing anything about what I teach, expecting answers to all their questions in 5 minutes. Listen to the lectures, study them. I've told you to practice austerities to restore your subtle energy body. Once it's restored, your physical body will start to recover. How much recovery happens depends on how much and what you're willing to do. If you don't understand or are afraid, you can get a health consultation on our website. The consultation will provide a detailed plan, and someone will guide you through it.
Got it. Thank you very much.
My dears, you're all raising your hands. Let's do this. If you haven't read my guidebook, don't raise your hand. If you haven't read the guidebook, I'll simply say goodbye. Go read it first. If you're not willing to read the guidebook, what do you want from me? Do you just want me to say something magical, and then everything will be great? That's not how it works. You need to learn to live the right way. I set an example myself. Read the guidebook and start doing everything correctly. And then, if something doesn't work, ask questions. I say the same thing to everyone. No energy means no life. Endometriosis means that for 3 years there wasn't enough energy flowing into the mucous membranes. This means the second energy layer is depleted. It starts with the depletion of the subtle energy body due to an improper lifestyle. When it's depleted, less energy reaches the mucous membranes. With less energy, they weaken. When they weaken, destructive processes begin. That's it. When energy is restored, the body starts to heal and recover. The body can restore itself. How much recovery happens depends on how much you manage to heal yourself and restore your energy. So that's what you need to focus on. But if you don't even have enough energy for yourself or your own life, how will you have the energy to raise a child? Think about it. Raising a child requires about 40% more effort. If you try that now, your health will deteriorate even further and you'll completely burn out. So start with your health. Begin by recovering and living the right way. Then everything else in life will begin to fall into place. For everyone raising their hands, you'll keep hearing the same thing. I'll tell you the same thing 10 times until you understand it. The foundation of life is the subtle energy body. You need to start doing all these practices. Then comes the social level. We talked about this yesterday. This is where opportunities arise. The ability to get married, adopt a child, or find a job. That's the next level. If you don't have energy, these opportunities don't exist. And then comes the spiritual level. Spirituality means engaging in spiritual practices, finding your faith, and so on. But this requires a lot of energy. If a person can't even wake up early, they don't have the strength. What prayer can there be? If you don't pray before 9 a.m., it becomes very difficult to pray later. You have to force yourself to wake up earlier. But if you don't have the energy, how will you wake up early?
Hello. Thank you for letting me speak. I've been listening to you for 10 years. I follow all the practices and have many friends. I have a very good social life. I'm happy, with 2 children.
Wonderful. That's music to my ears.
Happy holiday to you. We prayed together today.
Excellent. A great start.
My husband also listens to your lectures and many others.
How can I help you?
I have difficult relationships with my husband. He has bad habits.
What bad habits?
Thank God he stopped drinking.
That's fantastic.
But he takes medication uncontrollably.
What kind of medication? Tranquilizers?
He used to take those too.
Does he have mental health issues?
Yes, he has problems with his nervous system.
Show me a photo. What practices does he do?
He watches videos, smokes, and drinks coffee.
Why are you saying he's doing practices?
I do the practices, and he listens to your lectures.
Okay, come up here. It's already good that he listens to the lectures. That's the first step. Do you understand? The wife started listening, and now the husband has started too. Everything is going according to plan. Who went running or swimming today? Raise your hand. Feels great, right? Better now? I'm glad.
He works in a managerial position, but has been changing jobs a lot recently.
What kind of managerial position? What does he do?
Foreman or something higher. Engineering-related work.
His mental system is extremely overburdened, severely, at the 5th layer.
Despite that,
I'm speaking, you be quiet.
Sorry.
There's a critical lack of water and air energy at the 5th layer. This is where it affects the nervous system. There's a severe shortage. If life continues this way, it will lead to a nervous system disorder. It won't develop into schizophrenia, although such strong blockages at the 5th layer can result in psychological disorders. In his case, it's more about the nervous system. You can sit down. This condition is called psychasthenia, medically speaking. The job changes are due to a lack of strength. He gets extremely fatigued and leaves.
He drives me to such tantrums that there was a time I even thought about ending my life, despite all my practices.
Yes, I see that. His energy deficiency affects his personal life too. I was going to mention this.
Yes.
He has severe personal issues, very tough ones, but what can I say?
I just want to save myself.
When you do your practices, you can also help him.
I pray for him.
Two people are like interconnected vessels. For example, you can sit in water and mentally help him. This will increase his water energy too. You can also do long duration exercises on his behalf. There are 3 stages you can go through. The first is achieving calmness in your heart for him. The second stage is influencing him. He'll start reflecting. And the third stage is when he begins doing the practices himself. You don't have to ask me your question. If you want to live separately, live separately. Nobody is forcing you.
No, I can't live separately. I need to raise the children. He hit me.
He hit you?
Yes.
Then you need to live separately and set boundaries.
I haven't spoken to him for 5 days. I feel better.
Not speaking and creating distance is good. Living separately might be necessary. Hitting is already betrayal. This is already a harsh fate taking its course. You need to make a significant change in this situation. If you continue as you are now, it will get worse. He's already experiencing mental decompensation. He's entirely unable to live properly.
And after that, he fell at work and broke his arm this week. He apologized to me, but with a tone like, well, you pushed me to it.
No one, not a single person, will admit they are at fault for anything. That's normal. Everyone believes they're doing just fine. You need to try involving him in all the practices.
I bought him a gym membership twice. He never went, not even once. I've tried to encourage him so many times.
No, you need to take him to the pool with you.
He won't even go for a walk.
Pray. Overcome the 3 stages of faith through prayer. First achieve calmness in your heart, then influence him.
I don't know how.
My dear, I'm telling you what to do and you're saying, I don't know. What do you mean, I don't know? You pray. First achieve calmness in your heart, then influence him, and then he begins to change. You can also overcome faith through asceticism practices. Sit in water and mentally think, this is for him. This way your asceticism practice will also affect him. First comes calmness, then influence. He will eventually want to sit in water too. You need to mentally distance yourself from him right now, at least in spirit. Speak to him less and avoid any intimate relationship. Set conditions for your life together kindly. Make it clear that he needs to start doing these things. If he doesn't do these things, then within 8 to 9 months, a few possibilities could occur. First, your family may fall apart. Second, he could end up in a psychiatric hospital. The third possibility is that he may have a severe mental breakdown, but he cannot continue in his current status quo.
Yes, I feel that too.
Stop talking. I'm the one speaking now. He won't be able to stay resourceful and continue working for much longer. His energy is already depleted. Blockages have already formed on the 5th energy layer. The nervous system is under strain. Tranquilizers, of course, provide temporary relief. But they only mask the problem externally. Internally, the tension continues to build. The tension accumulates further. An unhealthy lifestyle is destroying him even more. This is already affecting his personal life. His psyche is on the verge of collapse. If he doesn't change his lifestyle either with your help or on his own, your family will fall apart within a year or his life will deteriorate. One of the two.
Thank you so much. That's exactly what I feared and felt.
You just need to pray. The first stage is achieving calmness for him, and the second is influence. During the influence stage, he'll start doing what I've suggested to you. Pass on everything I've said to him since he listens to my lectures. With my words, he might start changing his life. But he must sit in water, do static exercises, and engage in prolonged, continuous movement. His body's water and air energy levels are critically low. And even though he doesn't drink, it doesn't make a difference at this point. Because he
smokes.
No, smoking depletes air energy, not water. He is completely decompensated. What time does he go to bed?
He gets up at night, sometimes very late. His sleep is very poor.
Complete decompensation in life. Life on the verge of collapse. Let's move on. Do you all want me to tell you the same thing? All right, fine. I'll keep repeating the same message. The lady in white with light hair, yes?
Hello, Dr. Torsunov. Thank you for giving me the chance to ask my question. It's about my relationship with my husband. We were married for 20 years. A year ago, he left. I've been listening to your lectures for a long time.
So you were together for 20 years and your husband left. What was missing?
Missing for whom? For my husband?
No, for you in the marriage. Someone already answered. What was missing? God was missing.
Yes, God.
Because when people don't walk the path to God together, their love fades. Infatuation fades.
I pray. Maybe not enough.
Now what's the point of praying? He's already gone.
I've been praying for a long time, for years.
Well, apparently not enough. If he left, his conscience didn't awaken. Your prayer didn't reach his psyche. You can only save a marriage when the husband's conscience awakens. Then he doesn't leave. The wife ages and the young girls around him stay young.
Yes.
A man can marry a woman 20 years younger, no problem. And women also marry men who are 15 or 10 years younger. So wives are always at a disadvantage. Usually people marry someone around their age. They live together for 20 years. Then the man starts looking at younger women. And who will the woman look at? Older men? That's why for a woman the only way out is prayer and awakening her husband's conscience.
You know, I pray, and I feel like it's become easier for me. But it's very hard to establish contact with him.
That means you're already on the second stage. So how much do you pray?
I've been praying for him for probably 10 years.
No, I mean now.
It's been about a year since he left.
So you've already achieved 33% of the victory. The first stage is clearly visible. You feel lightness in your heart and the sense that everything will be fine, right?
Sometimes.
And then after some time, it will feel heavy again.
Yes, it comes and goes for some reason.
That means you're moving into the second stage. When you move into the second stage of fate, it becomes about the relationship between the two of you. At first, you prayed internally. The second stage of fate involves the connection between you two. This thread of connection has already started to activate. There's still a lot of work ahead. When it activates, it will feel heavy again, as if nothing is happening, but the lightness in your heart will remain. This is progress into the second stage of fate. When you reach a certain level in this stage, you will establish contact with your husband. What's his name?
Eugene.
Does he have another woman?
Yes, he did. I don't know if she's still around.
It seems like she's almost gone, or they are separating. Either she's completely out of the picture, or they're in the process of parting ways. Things are progressing well. You're winning.
Should I keep doing what I've been doing?
When a person does the right things, the result will always be correct. Yes, things are fine on your end. Your prayers are pulling him back. You're bringing his mind back.
Thank you.
Keep going. Always remember, winners are not judged. When you complete the 3 stages of fate, you overcome your fate. Why is your fate like this? Because in a past life, you had your own missteps. Once you overcome these 3 stages, either your husband will return or God will give you someone even better. So you have nothing to lose. Someone who overcomes their fate never loses anything. That is what you should focus on, overcoming your fate. It's the same with children. Overcome your fate and you will have a child. Simply sitting and doing nothing is not an option. You need to practice, pray, overcome your fate, and receive what is meant for you.
Dr. Torsunov, should I continue praying and behaving as I have been, or should I try to reach out to him myself?
Reaching out is part of the second stage. Pray through the second stage of fate a bit more, and you'll feel it becoming easier to think about him. Your thoughts will become lighter, and your mind will ease. He will naturally start moving closer and initiating contact.
Thank you so much.
Do you have children?
Yes, here's my daughter.
Where is your daughter? Your daughter is great too. She listens to the lectures. Does she talk to her father?
I talk to him sometimes, send him messages, but he responds very coldly. We haven't seen each other since February.
You should work through your daughter to bring him back. Let her communicate with him. Have her casually chat with him. She should also pray and work on overcoming fate. How are you doing? How is your silly one doing?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Everything will be fine for you. There are 2 of you. That's enough strength. There's a man smiling. Yes, you. Were you running with us?
Yes, good evening.
Well done.
My deepest gratitude for all the work you do. I have a question. I'm an entrepreneur, and I've recently been offered a large contract.
What kind of contract? What's your field? What do you do?
I work with lighting equipment.
Lighting equipment.
We bring light.
You bring light to people.
Yes.
I have an acquaintance who says you recommend specific gemstones for people to wear temporarily and then they stop wearing them. But when I place stones for people, they stay with them forever. It's also very personalized. What's the name of your company?
It's a sole proprietorship.
Who's offering you the contract?
The government, the administration.
When did the offer come in?
A couple of months ago.
What are you afraid of?
I'm not afraid. I just want to know if the stars are aligned for this. Should I go for it?
Yes, the stars are aligned. This will bring you good fortune. I see progress ahead for you. It's favorable.
Thank you.
Next, you, sir.
Dr. Torsunov, thank you very much for your service. My deepest respect to you. I have a question. Why do evil spirits come into our lives, and how can we get rid of them?
Evil spirits appear as a result of a weakened, subtle energy body. This world is very dense. We can't even imagine how dense life here is. On the subtle plane, there are living beings, different planets, not just Earth. The universe is vast, but on the subtle plane, everything is closely connected and densely packed. There's a saying, nature abhors a vacuum. If a person's subtle energy body weakens, specifically the fifth energy layer, the deepest one, it serves as a gateway to subtle worlds. If this weakens, it's as if the person no longer values or uses their own psychic functions. This allows other beings to enter and use those functions for themselves. It's a struggle for survival, a competition. The primary cause of depleted subtle energy is stress. When a person falls into despair, water energy evaporates, forming a blockage. A severe lack of water energy creates the risk of intrusion by an evil spirit. Drinking alcohol can invite spirits. Those are the spirits of intoxication. Smoking also involves spirits, though they act more inertly, but there are more active spirits as well. The active ones appear when there are dual blockages. Both water and air energy are depleted in a zone connected to other realms. This happens at the farthest reaches of the fifth energy layer. It may even stem from a person's inherent predisposition at birth. If someone has a predisposition to blockages, they are at risk of developing active blockages, which can lead to contact with evil spirits. You simply need to cleanse your subtle energy body through asceticism practices. Since ancient times, asceticism practice has been a fundamental practice for people. People knew that sitting in water, performing static exercises, engaging in prolonged, continuous movement, and fasting were essential. They all followed these practices. These were part of the religious rules for everyone, which is why people were strong, healthy, and rarely sick. If someone has mental health issues, they are advised to cleanse their subtle energy body. Nowadays, people live entirely incorrectly. They ruin their subtle energy life, which is why psychiatrists, psychotherapists, and psychologists are everywhere, like mushrooms after rain. But the number of illnesses is not decreasing because people are not being taught how to live properly. You can tell someone when they will die or suggest they skip buying a winter coat, but that doesn't really help. The only solution is systematic work on the subtle energy body. When it's damaged, it naturally leads to parasitic influences. The body simply needs to be cleansed, and everything will improve. In about a year of asceticism practices, the subtle energy body can be restored. At that point, no evil spirit will be able to remain, because the body regains control over itself. When there are blockages, it means there are uncontrollable zones within the subtle energy body.
I discussed this with one of your students. He mentioned that it might stem from a previous life.
The first energy layer connects us to this world. When there are blockages in the first layer, the person becomes influenced by the environment, weather, pressure, the city. If they move to a new location, it could cause a significant imbalance, leading to incompatibility with the place. If the first energy layer is damaged, the person struggles with social interactions and relationships. The first energy layer governs our connection to the world, while the fifth energy layer holds our memories of past lives. The fifth layer is tied to the moment of death. When a person passes away in a negative state, it affects this layer. You passed away terribly in your previous life. As a result, your fifth energy layer was damaged from birth. A trauma had already formed after passing away in your previous life. That's the connection here. The fifth energy layer reflects how we passed away in our previous life. When someone is born with autism, cerebral palsy, or mental illnesses, it often indicates an unfavorable death in their past life. You understand? There are different kinds of deaths. Sometimes a person is tortured or tormented before passing away. Sometimes they leave through an untimely death. They then suffer because they left many things unfinished in their life. Since death itself doesn't truly exist, a person remains in their subtle energy body, remembering everything that happened. It's distressing. It's unpleasant when everything happens unexpectedly. This state is then carried into the next life.
Is this more my issue or my wife's?
You definitely have a problem with your fifth energy layer. Your wife might also, but I'd need to see a photo to confirm. Let's look into this further. You have blockages in your air and sun energies. Did you experience seizures as a child? Any physical tension or rigidity? In your case?
In mine?
Yes.
I did, about 7 years ago.
Exactly. These are the two blockages, lack of air energy and sun energy. This can cause seizure syndromes. The mind is overloaded and spiritual disturbances are possible. Your wife has a slightly different situation. There's a lack of air energy on her fifth layer. She also has a blockage related to sun energy, but it's different from yours. That's it. There's also a risk of mental disturbances. You need to work on cleansing your physical bodies and subtle energy bodies. Everything will recover. Spend a year practicing water immersion, static exercises, prolonged continuous movement, and fasting. You specifically need sun energy. Saunas or fasting are great options. Do those things and recovery will follow. Both of you have issues, but they're functional. Not overwhelmingly severe. Just problems that need addressing. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Wishing you happiness. Next, you in the front row, please ask. Yes, you. Why are you hesitating?
I always have so many questions.
Just ask one, the most important one. Have a seat.
Whenever I see you or attend your lectures, I feel such relief.
I am just a very unusual person. Have a seat. Ask your one most important question.
May I ask one very important one?
Yes, please sit.
We are 4 sisters. Our father passed away in January. None of us were home. Not us, nor our mother. We have a feeling of immense guilt about how it happened, that it took us so long to fly back.
What happened to him? Was it a stroke?
Possibly a stroke, possibly a heart attack. We were against an autopsy. We wonder if he called out for help, if he suffered, what happened to him.
It was something with the heart. He felt unwell and lay down. Did he pass away lying on his bed?
Yes.
Exactly, I see that. Yes, he felt unwell and lay down on the bed. It seems like a heart attack. His heart function worsened until he passed away from oxygen deprivation. This happened around 40 minutes after he lay down. He didn't even have the strength to call an ambulance.
Is there something we can do?
Do about what?
I don't know.
Pray for your father. When did he pass?
In January.
He has already moved on to his next life. Pray for his journey. Are you seeking to ease your internal guilt, feeling as if something was left undone?
Yes.
This is an important question. When you feel like something is unfinished, you need to complete it. Join tomorrow's retreat. Simply dedicate your effort to your father, pray, and then continue with this mindset for yourself. If it feels unfinished, then it is unfinished. You just need to complete it. You did not assist him during his transition to another life. There's a debt you owe. You need to pray and repay that debt as his daughter.
I've been experiencing panic, fear, and confusion. Panic attacks, fear of dying, fear of losing my mind. It's overwhelming.
These are issues with the 5th energy layer. There are already some difficulties, lack of water and air energy. It's not severe enough to be life-threatening, but the signals are clear.
When I attend these lectures, everything feels fine. It feels as though everything is okay. But when I return home, those feelings come back.
Raise your hand if you feel fine during the lecture, but worse at home. Should I just move in with you all?
Thank you so much.
When a person sees someone they look up to, it becomes easier to live. When alone, it becomes harder. I experience this too. It's normal. That's why we must continue to develop and move forward. I can connect with my mentors during prayer. The connection becomes very strong and it helps me feel at peace.
Thank you so much.
You need this connection too. Gradually, as you develop, life will become easier.